I'm in the process of preparing a Zoom and I received another spiritual download. This is in regards to how you can learn to identify who was for you or who was against you in times of trouble. Now, when you're going through your spiritual awakening, you're doing house cleaning of yourself, you're doing house cleaning of your premises, your finances, and your circle of influence. You're trying to decide who's going to fit in my new life, who is going to be there to support me. And sometimes it's a little hard to determine who is there for you and who is not there for you. And I pray about this a lot because a lot of us have gone through some serious shit. And a lot of us had to go through it by ourselves. And after we came through on the other side, there was a period of bitterness against the people that they thought that was going to be there for them. But now that you've made a connection with your your creator, you realize that you had to go through it alone. You had to go through it alone so you can make sure that you won't go through it again. You have to have a testimony so you can share your experiences with people who have already are going through it. Someone who has made it through to the other side, because there's somebody who's going through what you went through, and right now they're in total despair and they do not think they're going to make it. But then they listen to someone like you who's been through it and they feel hope. They're like, okay, if they made it, then I can make it. But during that time, you felt so alone, you felt so lost, and you were wondering, why? Why are these people turning against me? And then when you come out of it, you're feeling sunshines and rainbows for a while, and you want to show love to everybody, but we have to use wisdom, people. We have to use wisdom in our new spiritual walk. It doesn't matter what religion you're in, denomination, or anything like that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the new spiritual lifestyle that you have officially adopted. You can't bring old people into your new reality. Some of them may come along, but some of them may not. And sometimes it's a little hard to determine. So let me tell you one of the ways that people try to cloak their positive energy and support of you when in actuality they were against you. Let's say you were in a situation where you were mentally incapacitated for whatever reason, and you needed to get some additional help. You need to go off somewhere. You need to go, you need to be incarcerated. You need to be institutionalized. Whatever the case may be, you had to be set aside. You had to be taken off somewhere away from the environment that you were in order to get your shit together. Yes, it's an extreme thing. People are running away from that right now, but sometimes that's the best thing. A lot of people I've talked to who were previously incarcerated for long periods of time, some of them told me that was the best thing that happened to them because of their upbringing, because of the life that they lived prior to getting involved in a life of crime. They would have wound up dead if it wasn't for prison. I'm not saying everybody felt that way, but in some cases, some people felt that it was going to be either prison or death. And they were able to make that spiritual connection because they didn't have any distractions. They didn't have anybody whispering in their ear. They didn't have anybody that could pull them to and fro because their freedom was restricted. Their communication was restricted. So they made that connection with their higher power and decided they were going to live a new life. And some of them, when they come out, for the majority of them, they live that truth. But there are some who relapse. They didn't try hard enough. Or that connection that they made, there was something missing in the transmission. Or sometimes for some people, they have to go through that same bullshit 2-3 times before they can get it right. But the point is that they get it right. So while they were in that position, separated and away from everyone, the tongues were wagging. Facebook lit up, social media, calling on the phone, asking this person, berating them. Oh, they shouldn't have done so-and-so. I remember so-and-so. I wish they hadn't have done so-and-so and everything else. Let me tell you something. When rehab, they have something that's called a trigger. And for those of you who don't know what a trigger is, it's called a trigger for a reason. There's a trigger on a gun, and you know what happens when you pull a trigger. Someone gets hurt. And these are what are called emotional triggers. Certain people, places, and things that trigger certain behaviors out of you. And if you don't have that strong spiritual connection and you get out of whatever situation you're in where you are secluded, you're going to wind up going to a situation where you are exposed to those same triggers. Some of these triggers are people that you were raised with, people that were in your school, people that were in your family, in your church. Yes, I said church. Some of these people were your triggers. See, everybody wants to talk about what you did, but nobody wants to talk about the cause. And I've said in previous audios, don't come to me talking about a problem unless you know where that problem came from, why, and you're in the mindset to get a solution. Other than that, I don't want to hear your problems. That's why I've gone into life coaching, goal setting, changing your current situation for the greater good. We're going to dig into what caused it or who caused it. And some of those causes are still present in your life right now. You never had that discussion. You never pushed that person away from you. You never decided to love from a distance if it's a family member. You still have them behaving the same way that they behaved before you got in your bullshit. You still have them whispering in your ear. You still have them in your life. They are toxic factor in your life. They are a trigger. And it's going to be a matter of time if you're continuously exposed to these people, whether it's brother, sister, father, uncle, aunt, mother, cousin, spouse, girlfriend, baby mama, baby daddy. That one constant person, if it's not a relationship that you can't get rid of, if you don't set up boundaries right away and let that person continue to behave in the way that drove you to do the extreme things that you did, you're going to wind up doing it again. And I know this sounds very extreme. It sounds very negative, and I'm really sorry if it offends anybody. But you have to learn to be proactive about eliminating triggers if you want to live in a new reality. You have to eliminate them. Let me give you a scenario, then I'm going to let you guys go. Let's say you had a situation where you were involved with a woman, your baby mama. Let's say you had a couple of baby mamas, and let's say you were a street hustler. This is just a generic situation. This is not applied to a certain person. If it does apply to your situation, it's not geared at you. This is just a certain scenario that is very common nowadays. Let's say you were street hustling because school was never your thing. You didn't think about college. You barely graduated high school. You shuffled around from low-paying job to low-paying job. And as a matter of time, while you're doing that, you're doing a little stuff on the side to really get the things that you want because you know that job wasn't paying enough money. And with that particular lifestyle draws a certain type of people. It draws certain types of women. Those are the only types of folks that they go for. It's the street hustlers. Hey, your preference is your preference. All of a sudden, you've got one getting ready to have a baby. Already got a baby mama somewhere else. So you've got to try to keep that cool, which is hardly ever cool. And that's a situation. So here it is, years pass, all the children are grown up, baby mama's gone on about their business. One probably went and remarried and went on, and the other one probably is doing her thing somewhere else, and your children are grown. We're talking about at least 20 years here, 20, 25 years later. You've done a couple of bids in jail, but this last bid, they caught you real good. 3 strikes, you're out. You messed around with that 3rd strike and you got 17 years. And I'm just throwing 17 years out there because of your prior record. I don't know what state you're in and I don't know what the sentencing would be. but you caught another bid because of that street business. 17 years, no chance of parole or anything. They're like, okay, you know what? He didn't get it the first couple of times. We're going to make sure he stays this last time. So he decides he's going to become spiritual because the kids are grown. He done been in and out of their life. He's tired. He's tired of running around and everything else. And so he decides he's going to get close to his spirituality. Okay. Does his time. Gets out. Winds up going back and looking up the same people in the same area who are probably doing the same thing that they were doing when he first went in 17 years ago, but they just got a few more gray hairs and a few more aches and pains. And the first thing they want to do is have him come over and sit down, turn up, and talk about the good old days. Now, what do you think that's going to do over a period of time if you go and do that with all the people that you knew back in the day? After a while, and you haven't made any new friends in your new reality at all. You haven't affiliated with anybody on the outside associated with your new reality. You have not wholeheartedly committed. The first thing you do is go back to who you knew 17 years ago. It's okay to say hello, hey, how you doing in passing, but you're hanging out with these people. You're spending time with them, going down memory lane, and right before you know it, inch by inch, you find yourself doing the same thing again. These folks know it. First of all, they don't have faith enough in you to even believe that you've even changed because they've seen it so many times before. And for some of them, they don't want you to elevate because for fear of being left behind. That's not your problem. That's theirs. I say this to say this, people. Just because you've changed over that period of time does not mean the people that you associated with have changed. You might have done 17 years on the inside. You might have done 5 years in rehab. You might have done 6 years in a mental institution. Whatever the case may be, where you were secluded and away from your family. But you got to understand, just because you changed doesn't mean that everybody in your circle prior to you going through your bullshit, they changed too. And some of them have some very, very negative feelings behind it. So you got to be very, very careful. Be aware of your triggers. If someone's seen that you went through all this bullshit and everything, and it's the same bullshit that got you into trouble in the first place, and you get out and the first thing they want to do is bring up memories about your bullshit and hang out with you, those are the people who spoke death on your name. Those are the people that were wagging their tongues about you. Those are the people that were dogging you out when you were going through your bullshit. Because I'm going to tell you something, if somebody really cared and prayed for you, by the time you got out of your bullshit, they'll be the first one to help you move on. They would not go back there and try to bring up every single little nitpicky thing that got you into trouble in the first place. They wouldn't do that. So that's a good way to identify people. That's one trigger right there. Somebody want to take you down memory lane knowing that those memories is what got you in the mess that you got into in the first place. Those are the main ones that talk shit about you behind the back. Those are the ones who backstabbed you. Those are the ones who spoke death on your name in some cases. They were the ones. Those are them sneaky bastards. But anyway, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Peace.